Tonight, the State Department is confirming that Marine veteran Trevor Reed has been hurt fighting in Ukraine more than a year after he returned home to the U.S. thanks to a prisoner swap that got him out of detention in Russia. Reed is getting medical help in Germany now, with the Biden administration making clear that he was in Ukraine on his own, even in the face of safety warnings. Listen.
Mr. Reed was not engaged in any activities on behalf of the U.S. government. We have been incredibly clear, warning American citizens, American nationals, not to travel to Ukraine, let alone participate in fighting there.
A spokesperson for Reed's parents tonight saying they are declining to comment. Let me bring in now Andrea Mitchell. And Andrea, you, I know, covered sort of every minute of Trevor Reed's detention, the push to try to get him out of a Russian prison. And now we find out that he's been fighting overseas. Apparently in Ukraine, he's been hurt and is trying to get, and is getting, I should say, medical attention in Germany. What else do we know? Do we know how badly he's hurt? Do we know what kind of medical care he's getting? Is it at a civilian or a military hospital? Is the U.S. now getting him home? Do we know any of this?
No, I wish I could be more helpful. They are not being helpful, frankly, because they are very frustrated. They feel that they have warned Americans repeatedly, Hallie, not to go to Ukraine. It is dangerous. And they say very bluntly they're not set up to try to rescue people from Ukraine. It's a war zone. And they can't help get people out. What we are being told is that he stepped on a landmine, or was injured by a landmine, I should say. Don't know the extent of his injuries. Obviously, with a landmine, it could be severe, and one hopes it's not, clearly. We don't know if it's a military or a civilian hospital. An NGO, a non-government agency, helped get him out. He was not brought out by the U.S. government. And they say very clearly that they're just not set up for that. But they worked very hard. As you know, you covered every bit of this and, talked to his parents repeatedly and interviewed them. And they had advocated so fiercely, and the White House responded, and understandably, belatedly, they felt. But others were left behind. As you know, Paul Whelan has been there now for 5 years now. Trevor Reed was there for 2 years on intoxication charges, and thankfully got home a year ago, April, in part because of all the publicity. So, Hallie, you have to take some credit for that.
Andrea, one of the things that the White House was asked about here was, does this complicate the efforts? As you noted, I want to play a little bit of that here.
The teams are doing everything that we can, using every avenue that we can to bring Paul and Evan home. I'm not going to get into, into back and forth on this, and that is our commitment. Like I said before, these cases should be treated as entirely different cases, and so that's how we're moving forward on them.
So the press secretary there saying that these should be considered entirely different cases. We just don't know much about what the push is now, right, to get Evan Gershkovich, to get Paul Whelan back from Russia. Do we have new details on that? And can you explain to people, in a situation like this, where the U.S. negotiates to get you out of a foreign country, it's not like they then put limits, right, on what you can do once you're home. You're a free American once you're home.
No, exactly. But the point is that they have only so many chits. Only so many Russians in prison. They gave up a Russian convicted smuggler of a huge amount of cocaine, I believe it was, a pilot who had apparently been smuggling cocaine, according to his conviction. So this was a drug-convicted person. They say they don't have any Russian spies in U.S. prisons, and that they wanted spies for Brittany Griner. 7 months later, they did trade someone who was a highly prized prisoner, someone very close to Vladimir Putin, Victor Bout. So the so-called merchant of death, an arms dealer. Now they are looking around the world, scouring the world for allies who might have somebody to trade for Evan Gershkovich, and they don't want to leave Paul Whelan behind another time and disappoint him. So that is the play right now. They say there's no connection, and in answer to a question, Karine said that there's no reason that those negotiations should be affected by this, even though Trevor Reed did take up arms, arguably, against Russia, with whom we're now negotiating. It's complicated.
It is, and it's a lot. And Andrea Mitchell, thank you for being all over it for us tonight. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.